The very first thing you can do to generate more kills each game is to just get better at using the deagle. I spent a lot of time watching demos of pro players on FACEIT in order to make a lot of my videos, and the one thing that I've noticed about these players is that they're extremely effective with the deagle. So how can you get better at using the deagle? Well, start using it in DM servers or deathmatch servers. But before you do that, you should note a few things. The deagle will return to full accuracy much faster when crouched. That's why you see a lot of players start crouching after they begin shooting. A lot of you will already know that, but what a lot of people don't know is how long the gun takes to return to full accuracy when you're standing and shooting. And trust me, it's deceptively long. That's exactly why you'll see clips like this.
I couldn't miss that smoke, but I thought like...
Something that I personally do and what a lot of players do is move their crosshair much further away from the angle while waiting for your enemies to peek. This is especially effective when the enemy knows you and your team are on an eco and will wide swing most corners because of that. Something that I see a lot in high elo pugs is players playing their spawn. Due to how Counter-Strike works and how timings work, certain plays are only possible if you were to play according to your spawn. This works both on T side and CT side. Some prime examples of this can be found on Mirage. With the furthest left spawn on CT, you'll see a lot of players jump out of window to catch T's off guard top mid. This is something that Donk almost always does in his pug. What a lot of oppers will do on the opposite side of the map on T side is when they get this furthest left spawn, they'll go straight to ramp and try to peek any player that's jumping across stairs to play for con. And again, all of these things are only made possible if you pay close attention to what your spawn location is. Before we move on to our next map, let's quickly talk about SkinsMonkey. SkinsMonkey is an automated CS2 trading site. SkinsMonkey provides an instant way to get new skins. If you encounter any issues, there's a 24/7 live chat support. To find the perfect skin, there's a filter tool and a search bar to find exactly what you're looking for. If you use my promo code RyderDie, you can start trading on SkinsMonkey and earn up to $5 for free. Trade $100 worth of skins to make the most of it. But if you'd rather buy your skins, you can use my promo code RyderDie to earn a 35% deposit bonus. Thank you SkinsMonkey for sponsoring this video. Now this next one may be a little controversial, but what I found a lot of success with is being the annoying CT player that T's hate dealing with based on how I approach CT side. Examples of this are playing angles that are incredibly difficult to clear, like jail on B or under balcony on A or even cubby on B site ancient. Another one is just playing somewhere different every single round. And other than protocol utility, change how you throw your nades each round too. Overall, just be the player that people hate playing against. Opposite to how you play on CT side, playing aggressive on T side will likely generate not only more kills for you overall, but also result in more impactful rounds on T side for your team. Instead of worthlessly lurking out B, how about you swing mid with your team and get the opening kills or important trade frags? For number 5, you should be using your crosshair. A lot of players will get so caught up in copying every single setting from pro players, like their resolution, sensitivity, key bindings, and will even start pressing mouse 2 when they spray. Copying pro player settings isn't bad, and in some circumstances may actually help your gameplay, but one thing that I'm a huge advocate for is use the crosshair you feel most comfortable with. If you like big crosshairs, use big crosshairs. If you like small ones, use small ones. And if we're being honest, size does not matter. I love having an outline on my crosshair, but at the highest level, you almost never see players do this. So instead of sticking with what I'm most comfortable with, I decided at one point to take the outline off my crosshair thinking it would help me. Instead, it actually did the exact opposite. Even though the crosshair was in the middle of my screen, after I would get flash or have to turn quickly, there were times where I would flat out lose my crosshair. So stick with what you like. Yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. Insert YouTuber talking about how important crosshair placement is. Yes, I know you've heard this 1 million times before, but it's true. Crosshair placement is super important, but there's a misconception with the ways you should be training this skill. A lot of newer players, including myself at one point, thought that developing crosshair placement can only be done in pre-fire maps. While these serve their purpose and can be good at learning common angles, what I've found to be more effective is just joining an offline map and peeking angles that you'll likely see in game, and then testing to see how good your object permanence is. Pre-fire maps will only give you scenarios where you'll be running out top mid or onto sight and clearing out angles, but taking time to practice where your crosshair should be and developing better object permanence in an offline map, especially in areas of the map that these maps don't help you, I found to be even more effective. Now don't get me wrong, there's a time and a place for these pre-fire maps, especially if you're a newer player, but as you develop more time into the game, I honestly find it more effective just to be practicing in an offline map. Aside from playing an ungodly amount of Counter-Strike, one of the biggest reasons why I was able to hit level 10 and then keep level 10 was because I DM'd or deathmatched quite often. There's really no better way to fast track your aiming, counter-strafing, and crosshair placement improvement process than to just DM. There are a bunch of sites that host servers for community DMs like Prac and XPlay and Warmup Server, but the one that I've been using quite often recently is Warmup Server. The reason being is if you select the multi-config servers they host, you'll be able to get 10 minutes of pistol DM, 5 minutes of second round weapons, including including the deagle, and then 15 minutes of rifles. This is nice because it's hard to find populated pistol DM servers, and this way you can get practice on all the guns that you like using. If you're having a hard time in these servers, however, you should consider sticking to Valve DM servers. The players on those websites will likely be higher level Faceit ranks, and if not higher level Faceit ranks, maybe even pros, and this will not result in a healthy practice for a newer player. But once you played a lot, I would consider trying out these community deathmatch platforms. Take a look at this. What feels wrong about this clip? Obviously, this isn't the best gun for this position. What about now? How about this one? What about now? It seems obvious when we look at it, but this is a super important concept to actually apply to your games, and that is play for the gun you're currently using. If you haven't seen my last 2 videos, I highly encourage you to check them out. I did a deep dive into where pros are playing and exactly how they play these positions, and I sorted these positions by the highest impact that they have on average. If you're struggling to find impact on either side of the map, you should check out these videos and see where you can start playing to have a bigger impact on your team. I've made entire videos on this concept of misdirection and how Counter-Strike is an imperfect information game, but when I review lower elo demos, I hardly ever see people take advantage of this. What misdirection is in Counter-Strike is making the enemy think you're doing one thing and then simply doing something else. This is super common in all kinds of sports, even like basketball when it comes to pump faking, crossovers, or American football with fake handoffs or trick plays. In Counter-Strike, a super easy way to manipulate what the enemy is thinking is by abusing death cam. Once you kill an enemy, they'll continue to see you on their death cam for approximately 1.5 seconds. Now with that time, they're likely relaying information to their team about your whereabouts. What you can do with this is pretend like you're committing to a certain space on the map, but then simply go somewhere else. However, one thing to keep in mind is if you kill someone with a headshot, their death cam is significantly reduced, meaning they'll have little to no information to give to the team once they die. If you're stuck in a 1v4 retake scenario on CT, you should probably save. A lot of players, even in level 10, struggle with this when they should be saving. Obviously, if it's the last round of the half, you should be going for it, or if your team is desperately needing a round, you should also probably go for it. But if it's a close game, and if saving means your team has another bye next round, you should save. How I like to approach this concept is by thinking about the percentages. What is the likelihood I can retake this site and win a 1v3? Now, what is the likelihood that my team can win the next round if I drop a rifle or if I have a hero rifle going into the next round? If you're interested in playing genuinely good Counter-Strike, you should consider saving. And after the most recent update, saving is even more rewarding because of the buff to CT economy. If you were to save and even catch a few exits before the round finishes, your team will be awarded $50 extra for each T kill that you collect. Also, interesting thing to note, if the Ts die to the bomb exploding, your team is also awarded $50 for each T dies due to bomb explosion. One of the biggest pieces of advice I got from a coach a long time ago was to start practicing my tracking. There's a huge misconception that tracking is useless in Counter-Strike, and if you think otherwise, let me give you a perfect example of when tracking is important. Let's say you're holding Ticket on Mirage during your CT pistol round. There's a T that swings Palace and you miss your first shot. Considering the distance between you and the enemy swinging Palace, you can't immediately shoot again without being inaccurate at that distance. So instead, while you wait for your gun to regain its accuracy, just for a brief moment, you track the enemy while they swing. Even though it's just for a brief moment, you are indeed tracking, and your ability to do so will largely depend on how much you've practiced this skill. An easy way to set up a training center for this is with aimbots. Load in, set the ADA of the bots to 5, and this will make them do long strafes to the left or right. All you have to do is sit there and track them while they move. This, above all other training routines, has helped me the most with my aim. You should give it a try. As a rifler, it's super important that you aren't consistently playing common positions. Instead, you should be set up somewhere to almost surprise the enemy when they see you. Instead of going through all the best off angles you can play, I'm just going to give you one piece of advice of making your own off angle. Ask yourself this: will the enemy's crosshair be on my head when they swing this angle? If the answer to this is yes, it's not an off angle. And if you're struggling to answer this question, think about how you would clear out the angle that you're currently in and where your crosshair would be. The reason why Xantares is infamously known for his ungodly fast peaks is because he's really good at maximizing his player speed when he swings an angle. You may know this as a Ferrari peak. Based on the gun you're using, the player will reach a certain max speed. To reach this max speed, all you need is just a little more space. Now, if in the situation that you're in, noise isn't a factor, you should swing and always try to be at max speed when the enemy spots you. This will make it difficult for the enemy to actually hit you and give you the best advantage to win a gunfight. I mentioned this earlier when we talked about misdirection, but Counter-Strike is an imperfect information game, as in the enemy doesn't know what you don't tell them. If you're in a 1v1 situation, the enemy doesn't know without a doubt where you are unless you give them that information. What this usually looks like when people do give their position away is just by using utility. They think that the enemy already knows where they are, or they simply confirm the enemy's suspicion by throwing a flash that blinds nobody. Instead, just keep your gun out and be ready to shoot an unsuspecting enemy. The biggest difference that you'll see in lower elo players and high elo players is their ability to control their character. This is especially true when it comes comes to skill jumps. My advice to you is to practice some of the most common skill jumps until you feel comfortable to bring them into your game. This could be the window to cat jump on Mirage, the mid to cat jump on Ancient, or the top balk jump on Inferno. Whatever it is, practicing these skill jumps will not only improve your movement overall, but also enable you to make plays in positions that you would otherwise wouldn't be able to make. If you also want to practice your movement, you can check out my movement guide. There are a million ways that utility can impact your ability to get kills, but in my opinion, the most effective ways are for pop flashes and lurk smokes. To throw a good pop flash, there are two golden rules. Number one, the flash can't blind you, as in it'll just pop behind you. And two, the flash will blind the enemy. To throw a pop flash, you can bank it off a wall so it lands behind you, or you can left and right click throw it upwards and behind you. In lower elos, pretty much your only option is to swing after it pops, because trust me, no one's gonna be looking away. But if you're playing against more experienced players and you think they'll look away from the flash, you can actually choose whether you swing before or after the flash pops. Yeah, this one probably isn't one that you want to hear, but you should be taking care of your mental health and also allow yourself to mentally reset after each game. Before I start streaming my games, which you should check out, that's the first link in the description, it's on Twitch, I would always take at least a 5 to 10 minute break in between my matches just to allow myself to get rid of any negative emotions from the previous match, or to simply rest my mind before going into another match. Going to the games with a shit mental will only affect your in-game decisions and hurt your mechanics. Every single day, you should be practicing these 3 things: your aim, counter strafing, and recoil control. Just like any other sport, the fundamentals are always going to be king. The player who practices the basics every single day like a crazy person will always prove to be a more consistent player than anybody else. There is no limit to how good your aim can be. Likewise, there is no limit to how good your counter strafing or recoil control can be. And if you're able to take anything from this video, it's this: if you're truly on the grind and want to become a better player, then focus on your fundamentals. There really isn't anything more impactful than being world class at those 3 things. And to be totally honest, the biggest difference between you and someone that's much higher elo than you or getting more kills every game than you is that they're probably just much better at those 3 things. So the 20th way that you could potentially get more kills in your games, and I know for a fact you're not going to want to hear this, but it's simply just play the game more. You can't get better at Counter-Strike without playing Counter-Strike. Now, of course, watching YouTube videos and having a coach and all these things help tremendously. However, you can't get better at Counter-Strike if you don't play Counter-Strike. Things that we talk about today, like aim and crosshair placement and movement and game sense, whatever it is, all boil down to how many matches have you actually played. There is one caveat to this though, and that is taking accountability for your own performance. There's a reason why there's people on Faceit with 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 games that are level 7, level 8, and they can't get to level 10 is because they think it's their teammates that are holding them back. But one thing you should keep in mind always is that you're the common denominator in all of your games. That meaning your performance will dictate your elo over the course of hundreds, if not thousands of matches. And you really can't improve if you're not looking for ways to improve. So think about the things you're doing wrong in your game, analyze every death that you encounter, and that's the easiest way to fast track going from whatever elo you're at now to whatever elo you want to be in the future. There's also one more thing you should keep in mind, however, though, is getting better at Counter-Strike takes a long time. No matter how much work you put in today to get better, it won't really matter if you're not doing it tomorrow or next week or even next month. I've been playing Counter-Strike for almost 2 years now, and I'm 2,300, 2,400 elo on Faceit, nowhere near the pro players, because those guys have been playing Counter-Strike for years. And they haven't stopped playing Counter-Strike. So the more time you put into Counter-Strike, the better you will be at Counter-Strike, just like anything else in life. But that's all I got for the video. I want to say thank you to anyone who's made it this far into the video. And quickly before we end the video, I want to shout out all the channel members, which are all the people that you see scrolling by right now. Each one of these people have put $5 forward to support the channel, and if you want to join them, you can click the join button down below. If you don't want to, that's also cool. However, if you enjoyed the video, you should leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with my content, you should subscribe and hit the bell to be notified. Also, one more thing, shout out to MaestroAI for partnering with the channel. If you want to leg up the skins trading community, check out MaestroAI. Links in the description. Anyway, see you guys next time.